Morning, everyone. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Calling the roll for the Monday, April 24, 2023 Board of Control. It is 11:01 a.m. We have Councilmember Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Here.
Trevor Meckler serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones Jr.
Here.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Michael Chambers, Fiscal Officer, serving as an alternate for Chris Ronay, County Executive.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is the review and approval of the minutes from April 17th. I will make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Please note we have Katie Gallagher. Is there any public comment?
Katie Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Ronay, County Executive, and Michael Chambers, Fiscal Officer, serving as Chairman.
Here and here. Okay, thank you. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, great. Let's move to our first item, please.
First item, new item for review, BC 2023-246, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to 3M Company and the amount not to exceed $8,000 for a joint cooperative purchase of reflective sheeting on an as-needed basis for the road and bridge sign shop and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This first item is a purchase order with 3M. This is going to be used by our county road and bridge department. They make the signs for on the roads. It could be like work zone, stop, caution, road work ahead signs. We're able to take advantage of joint co-op through ODOT, which, you know, they competitively bid, and government entities are able to take advantage of that. And the dollar amount should take us through the end of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Pavich. Are there questions from the board? Mr. Mackler.
Mr. Chair, not a question, just a comment, and we've talked about this before, Mike, that we're required to do an RFP exemption, but we're using what ODOT has provided, so just for the record, that it's not,
I
we're
understand.
not going through a public process, but
It's
on
still-
paper, it looks like we are, but.
I would say part of what we've tried to do there is to reflect when it's, you know, a government purchase or a joint cooperative purchase, so that it's okay for the record. It's only an exemption, you know, from our standard procurement procedures. It's not meant to say it's an exemption in a negative light. It's just, you know, not us doing the competitive process, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yes, thank you, Paul. Seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2023-247, Department of Sustainability submitting a grant application to United States Department of Energy in the amount of $606,997 in connection with the Cuyahoga County Utility Microgrid Design Project for the period February 1st, 2023 to January 31st, 2025, and submitting a grant award with said RFP exemption.
Mike Foley, Department of Sustainability. So this is to accept and to utilize a grant that we received from Senator Brown. It was an earmark for for a microgrid district in the Arizona area. The grant award, or the earmark, was for $300,000. The total award is for $600,000. We have to pay 50% of that as match. We're using existing contracts with Go Sustainable, CSU, and some of our staff time as the match award. And DOE has already given us approval to use pre-award dollars that go back to last March. So we've got the dollars available for the match.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-248, Department of Sustainability recommending an award on RQ 11071 and enter into a contract with 21C LLC DBA Compass Energy Platform in the amount not to exceed $20,000 to serve as the county utility strategic and operational partner and to develop long-term parameters in connection with creating a microgrid for the operation of the county utility effective upon signatures of all parties for a period of 9 months.
Thanks. Mike Foley, Department of Sustainability. This is also in connection with the county utility. In fall of 2022, we put an RFP out for a utility operator and strategic partner. We had 4 responses to that. this Compass Energy Platform. We have Rick Bolton here from Compass, was the award winner. This contract is a short-term kind of phase contract for 9 months to help us. This contract developing a long-term utility operator will be complicated. There will be some lawyering going on. But we've got a couple kind of interim things we need to do as soon as possible. We've got an opportunity for a Department of Energy grant that could pay for the build-out of both a Euclid and a Brooklyn microgrid. And they would pay for half of the upfront cost of the microgrid build-out. So he says the estimate is right now could be, they would be paying $60 to $70 million for build-out. Compass brings with them a capital partner, so as we build out the microgrids in both those two districts, but other districts, we've got other folks' money, basically, to help build these things out. Payment comes back to both the county and to the developers through long-term power purchase agreements. So this first contract is for 9 months, just to help us get up and off the ground, help us with this DOE component, kind of think through what the longer-term contract is going to be, and then we'll come back once we're kind of finished with that contract to council for a long-term contract with Compass.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is there questions from the board? Councilman, please.
So, did I hear correctly that the Department of Energy might be willing to pay for half of the build-out cost?
That's correct, right?
Be a major grant.
It would be a major grant, you're right.
Okay, great. Good luck.
Thank you.
Do we have any additional questions?
Mike, does your award them for the entire scope of work, even though it's not, you're not going to go back on the street? You're saying you're picking them for the full project. You're
That's
only
correct. So
scoping
this
them
is,
for
it's a
part one.
phased kind of phase 1, phase 2 contract award. So.
Just so that's understood.
Okay, very good. Any final questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-249, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Gather Content and the amount not to exceed $9,588 for renewal of Gather Content Transform annual subscription for the period May 11, 2023 to May 11, 2024, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan with Department of IT. This is a one-year subscription, this purchase order. Gather Content is the single platform that's used by the web development team, and this will allow them to plan and organize and manage content across the multiple systems throughout the county.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Conwell. Oh, my gosh. Turner, sorry. My apology.
Take that compliment.
Councilwoman Turner, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-250, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Progress Software Corporation in the amount not to exceed $56,700 for renewal of software licenses, support, and maintenance services on the Sitefinity web content and case management system for the period May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. Sitefinity is the case management, content management system that's used also by the web development team. This allows them to create content, update content, totally change content in a single application that'll affect all the websites.
All right, Dennis, thank you again. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-251, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services, COGA Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to OPEX Corporation in the amount not to exceed $15,280 for renewal of licensing, support, and maintenance on Model 72AS7200I scanner for the period April 6, 2023 through April 5th, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT, on behalf of HHS. Job and Family Services specifically. This is the mail processing and sorting machine.
Okay, Dennis, are there questions from the board?
I have a question.
Please.
What do you attribute the increase to? Is it just overall inflation or?
That I don't know. I know it was a minimal amount. It was what, $1,140, I believe? I don't know. That's less than 10%, which is an annual, pretty much an annual for service maintenance, but it's lower than that, but I don't know the exact reason. I will.
Thank you.
I'll go through Cheryl with the answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Are there additional questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank
Next
you.
item.
Next item, BC 2023-252, Prosecutor's Office submitting an amendment to a contract with Celebrite Incorporated for the purchase of 6 Universal Forensic Extraction Device, 4 PC Ultimate Forensic Software licenses and subscription services to decrypt and extract investigative data from mobile devices for the period June 18, 2022 through June 17, 2025, to change the scope of services to add 2 additional subscriptions and purchase of 2 adapters and 5 dongle kits, effective as the last date of signature of the parties, and for additional funds in the amount of $17,945.90.
Good morning, Dave Fruteri with the Prosecutor's Office and the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Back in 2022, we entered into a contract with Celebrite for 3 years. That came at a very reduced rate. It increased the number of licenses that we had. Within the last year, we've commingled our forensic examiners from the ICAC program with our examiners from the Prosecutor's Office, and so it's required us to bring additional adapters and dongle kits into the environment to use the software and the technology effectively. So this is essentially just an amendment to the current contract. It'll extend our abilities and efficiencies to June of 2025 to add these additional adapters and these dongle kits, if you will, to support the current licenses that we already have. It indicates that it's a grant from the Attorney General's office. The reality is it's the state gives us a budget amendment every 2 years of $500,000. And so a portion of that goes to the prosecutor's office and the task force, and that's where these funds will come from.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Macular. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-253, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to FDL Marine Incorporated, DBA Edgewater Marina, in the amount not to exceed $13,914.18 for the purchase of fuel for marine patrol boat operations in connection with the Operation Stone Garden Grant Program, effective Board of Control approval through December 31st, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Chris Kops, Sheriff's Department. This is just an award to Edgewater Marina. We store our sheriff's boat there at the marina. That's why it's an RFP exemption. So this is our boat fuel for the rest of the year.
Thank you, Chris. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-254, Medical Examiner's Office, on behalf of the Regional Forensic Science Laboratory, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Leeds Precision Instruments Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $74,807.10 for the purchase of 1 firearms and tool marks comparison microscope and various accessories, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. We were written into prosecutor's DOJ grant that focuses on crime gun intelligence. We have several older models of these ballistics microscopes, so we took the opportunity to upgrade. We use the older ones for training purposes, but this one will be helpful in getting our examiners newer equipment.
Thank you, Hugh. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-255, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services submitting amendments to various contracts with AT&T Corporation for network connectivity services for the next generation 911 system for various time periods, to expand the scope of services effective upon contract signature of all parties, and for additional funds in a total amount not to exceed $116,113.26. Contract number 2281 for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2024, to expand the scope of services for 8 temporary DS1 lines for CAMA T1 circuits and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $44,030. Contract number 688 for the period November 1st, 2019 through October 31st, 2024 for new temporary IP Flex and SIP circuits and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $72,083.26.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And you may recall last year we came before you. The Motorola wanted to replace the 911 system. They had a product that was called Emergency Call Work, and they were replacing it with their Vesta system in order to address some performance issues. And as part of that conversion, we needed to bring on some additional AT&T circuits so that we could run the systems at the same time while the conversion was happening. Well, as you can imagine, with the supply chain being as it has been, this project is taking much longer than was expected. So we just need to increase the value of these amendments while the project continues. As part of this project, Motorola is reimbursing us for the cost of these circuits, and they pay us on a regular basis. So we've had no issues recovering our additional expenses from them.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Nicole English. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-256, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, on behalf of Local Emergency Planning Committee, recommending an award and enter into a contract with Safeware Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $11,900 to provide instruction for a risk-based response to battery emergency course effective upon signatures of all parties through June 13, 2023.
Mary Beth Vaughn again. This class is for Hazmat team members, part of the regional Hazmat team. There's going to be 2 8-hour courses, and each course will train 30 Hazmat individuals. This is a grant-funded course, and it will take place over 2 days in June.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item. Thanks.
Next item, BC 2023-257, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Catholic Charities Corporation for pre-employment screening services for Ohio Works First applicants for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $240,200.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. Again, this is a contract amendment with Catholic Charities for a pre-employment screening program. Catholic Charities evaluates applicants' job readiness and identifies potential barriers to work and training activities that will assist them in becoming self-sufficient. This is the third amendment. This amendment is only for 6 months. It's going to allow us time to prepare an RFP that we're going to issue probably sooner than later for services to begin January 1st, 2024.
Okay, thank you, Marcos. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-258, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in a payment to a place called Home Youth Services in the amount not to exceed $5,150.01 as final payment for out-of-home emergency placement services for the period October 3rd, 2022 through December 11, 2023, and recommending a payment with said RFP exemption.
Good morning again, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Children and Family Services. Again, this is to pay a final invoice for a provider for our out-of-home care contract. This provider was originally procured off a time-sensitive mission critical. We've been working to add them to the master contract, but for the last few months, they have been unable to meet our insurance requirements, specifically around the sexual abuse and molestation. The child has long since left that placement in December. The department has no intention of actually using that resource again. So instead of trying to get them to meet those insurance requirements, we just want to pay the final invoice.
Okay, thank you, Marcos. Questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-259, correcting to read. Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Evolving Nurse for therapy and nursing services for Medicare and Medicaid recipients for the period April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2024. No additional funds required.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez, Health and Human Services. On behalf of Senior and Adult Services, we had issued an informal bid for these services last year. The vendor is to provide speech, occupational or physical therapy services, and preventative education such as fall prevention. These services are as an as-needed basis if county staff are not available, if the caseloads are too high, or if staff is on vacation. We are extending only for time. The vendor had some issues themselves with staffing, didn't utilize the contract, so we are extending just for time only.
Okay, thank you, Marcos. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, then I will make a motion to approve this as amended for the department name change. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Macular. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-260, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to ACP Green and Associates, DBA Planning Next, in the amount not to exceed $40,000 to provide strategic project planning services to develop and present action plans to the Division of Senior and Adult Services, including strategic steps to enhance age-friendly community events in connection with the Livable Cuyahoga Initiative, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Senior and Adult Services. Again, this is a consultant contract with ACP Green and Associates, DBA as Planning Next. They will help with planning around the Livable Cuyahoga Initiative, age-friendly. An age-friendly community is a place that enables people of all ages to actively participate in community activities. It is a place that treats everyone with respect regardless of their age. It is a place that makes it easy to stay connected with those around you and those who you love. It is a place that helps people stay healthy and active even at the oldest ages. And it is a place that helps those who can no longer look after themselves to live with dignity and enjoyment. We issued an informal bid for these services earlier this year. We did receive 4 bids. Planning Next was not the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder there was only a difference of $445, I believe. But Planning Next provided us greater detail in their proposal, and they were able to work with us. We feel that they'll be able to work with us in getting this initiative launched in the future.
Thank you, Marcos. Is there questions from the board? Mr. Macular.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if this is for Marcos or maybe Jared or someone, I don't know, but if we did bid this out, why do we need the exemption? I mean, it's always lowest and best. Why, just because we're not going with the lowest, why the exemption required?
Mr. Porter, please.
Yes, we discussed this one before putting it on the agenda because this was done as a request for bids, so we would be looking for the price and a compliant bid. There was a lower bid that could have provided the services. It was more a question of, I guess, the specs. The low bidder met the specs. This bidder provided more detail. That doesn't mean that it was better per se. Like when we look at doing an RFP, you can consider a lot more factors than just the pricing. When we do an RFB, whether formal or informal, pricing's really the focus area. That's why we suggested bringing it forward as an exemption and indicating the detail in the presentation, which Marcos did.
So was this an RFB?
It was an informal RFB, yes,
Informal.
correct.
Okay, so that is informal, we're just seeking proposals, right? I mean, that, if it was an RFB, if we actually released a bid, we could have awarded to the second, we could have awarded to ACP instead of doing the RFP exemption. I'm just a little confused of,
If they would have
Sure.
done a request for proposal instead of an
Instead of an
RFP, they could have
RFP.
scored and ranked the vendor based on their submission. But in this regard here, they didn't go by just price alone. They went by additional details that the vendor provided, if I'm correct, Marcos.
No, that's
So, if they would have done an RFP, then we wouldn't be in this situation. They could have awarded it based on scoring and ranking.
If it was formal.
No,
No,
even an
informal too.
Informal too?
RFP, yeah.
Typically for services, you would normally want a proposal opposed to a bid. Do you guys use informal RFP?
It's
Or-
usually bids.
bids?
Yeah, we've,
Because that would help to score
Exactly.
these other factors, and then we wouldn't have the exemption.
I mean, it seems a little strange for consulting services, we would do an RFB.
Correct.
Councilman, please.
So I think doing this as an exemption is unnecessary, although I'm not opposed to it in this case. But our process is clearly that we go with the lowest and best bid, and I don't think that we're required to consider any bid that meets the minimum requirements as being equal. You know, if we think another bid is better, and particularly given this situation where the dollar amount difference was quite small, our procurement system has that latitude, and I think you could have just come with the informal bid and could do that in the future, but for this one instance, I don't think it's a big deal, and I'm willing to vote for it as written.
Excellent, great comments. Okay, are there any additional questions? If not, then in order to keep it moving forward, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, exemption BC 2023-261, Department of Public Works requesting approval to amend board approval number BC 2022-797 dated December 19, 2022, which approved an alternative procurement process and resulted in award recommendations to various vendors in the amount not to exceed $320,000 for the purchase of concrete materials on an as-needed basis for repair and maintenance projects throughout Cuyahoga County, effective date of border control approval for a period of 2 years to change the name of Campbell Concrete and Supply to Contractor's Choice Ready Mix, effective border control approval.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. This exemption is basically just to change the name of one of our vendors. Late last year, we did an informal bid that resulted in a 2-year alternate procurement with concrete vendors. We identified Carr Brothers, Rockport, and Campbell Concrete. They submitted bids. We awarded an alternative procurement to all 3 of them, and we've got individual purchase orders that come back to the board for all of them. Just recently, Campbell changed their names to Contractor's Choice, and this is to reflect the alternative procurement of that name change, and then in the next 2 weeks, we'll have a separate purchase order come before you in that new name.
Thank you, Tom. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda items are BC 2023-262 through BC 2023-263.
Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. It's only a handful of items today. Okay, seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Moving on to other business.
There's no other business?
Is there any public comment?
No public comment?
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Jared, so on the,
This?